So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can be more creative with loops that you might be using from sample packs. So I'm going to show you three things. Firstly, how to do sound design with really simple loops. Then I'm going to show you how to add variation to static loops. And then I'm going to show you how to extract individual elements from loops so that you can make your own patterns with them. That's all coming up. Hey, how's it going? It's John Holt here from The Audio Journey, helping make music production accessible to all. And here on this channel, what I do is a variety of music production tutorials, mainly focused towards beginners and beyond. So if that's something that you might be interested in, then definitely consider subscribing. So straight into point number one, I'm going to show you how to do sound design with simple loops, and we're going to use a demonstration of when I've used this in one of my own tracks. So let's have a quick listen to a little section just here, and I'm going to play the loop in solo, but firstly, I'm going to right click on this audio loop just here, and I'm going to do show in browser so that you can hear the original loop. So we get a before and after. So this is the before. So that's just the loop straight from the pack. Now I'm going to solo what I've done to it here over these 4 bars, sorry. Okay, so what you might be able to hear is that the pitch is going up and down, and that's the first thing that I'm going to show you how I did. And then we'll go on and have a look at the plugins and a little bit of automation. So first things first, I want to turn off all of these plugins so that I can show you the pitch stuff more accurately. So I'm going to click on the first plugin, hold Shift, click on the last plugin so that they're all selected, right click and do group. This puts them all into an audio effect rack and means that I can turn all of them off and on with one click by clicking just here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave them off. And then I'm going to double click on one of these audio files. Now, in order to make the pitch go up and down, I used an envelope. And to do that, or to show the envelopes, you use this button just down here. And then here, you can see that I've basically just drawn in automation for the pitch. So you want to come to clip in this first drop-down menu, and you want to come to transposition. Transposition is just pitch shifting up and down, essentially. So if I play this, you'll see and hear where the pitch goes up and down. Using 7 semitones, for those of you that aren't too familiar with music theory, 7 semitones up or down is a good place to go for. 12 as well is an octave. I've gone for 3 as well. Don't worry too much about that, just do what sounds good. But let's have a listen to this. So I just wanted to get a little bit of pitch movement going up and down there. In order to do this, you just sort of click wherever you want to make a mark, pull this stuff up or down. You can be quite creative with it and do what sounds good to you. I'm going to undo what I just did there. Okay, cool. The next thing that I did is add some plugins to this. So let's double click on the track header to go back to the plugins, and I'm going to turn these on one by one. I need to have the audio effect rack on, or actually I could just ungroup them. Cool. So let's turn all of these off. Definitely done this the long way around, but that's fine. So auto pan is just sending this loop from left to right. And you can control the rate or the speed at which that's happening, the amount, how far left and right it's going, and a bunch of other things in there. The next thing that we've got is bit reduction, which sort of technically reduces the audio resolution, but gives a really cool effect. And something strange that this does, which I wasn't expecting, is it almost reverses the pitch shifting. It makes it sound like it's going down and then up. So have a listen to it now. You hear it go going up, but then when I put the bit reduction on, listen to it. It almost reverses. It's really strange. So the next effect is probably the most drastic one, and this is the resonators. This is available in audio effects, as is the auto pan and the bit reduction. Resonators are available if you are using Ableton Live Standard or Suite. That's at least the case in version 10. Let's have a listen to what those resonators are doing. And extend that. So that's a really, really cool effect. It's adding different harmonics to the sound, or different resonances, and I think it sounds awesome. So I actually automate this dry and wet to come up during the breakdown. So if you have a listen, you'll hear when these start to come in, when the resonator starts to get turned on. This is going to play the full track. There we go. The last thing, I've just got an auto filter, doing some low cutting there. Let's put this back to where it was, about -15. And the utility. This I use just because I don't like to automate the track volume, because then it means if you want to turn everything up or down a little bit after you've done automation, it's not easy to do. So I use this to do my volume automation, leaving the track volume free. There we go. So you can get creative, add whatever audio effects you want here, automate things, and you're going to get some really cool sounds from some really basic sounding loops. Next up, I want to show you how to add some variation to some potentially static sounding loops. So let's have a listen to this sick loop, which I've got in here. I'm going to solo that for you. There we go. So a pretty simple top loop that a lot of producers will be used to using, especially in this genre. So what I'm going to do to make this a little bit more interesting, so it's not just doing the same thing every time, I'm going to right click and duplicate the track, zoom out using the minus, delete everything on this new track, sick loop, vary. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and let's say I want to make it a little bit more interesting here. I'm going to hold down Alt or Option, drag this down. And what I'm going to do is double click on this audio file, come into here, and I'm going to do reverse. Now you can see that that has reversed the audio file. So it's now playing backwards. Let's have a listen to that. Now that might be a slightly familiar sound to you. What I'm going to do is turn it up a touch. I'm going to add some delay, which is actually a ping pong delay, which is really cool. And I'm going to trim this down to just be the last couple of beats of this bar. And let's see how this sounds in the track. There we go. So it's a nice little bit of ear candy. We could even just keep the normal one going and take the kick drum out for a couple of beats and see how that sounds. There we go. That's a nice little mini transition. Experiment with doing it elsewhere, or even just sort of dragging stuff down, not even reversing it. There we go. It just gives us a nice little bit of delay there, if you can hear that. There we go. So that way it's not just the same loop repeating over and over again. So you could do maybe 4 different variations of this. And then once you've done 4 different variations of that, just copy those out and hit duplicate. And then you've got a nice little bit of variation going on consistently throughout your track. The final thing I want to show you how to do is how to take individual elements from a loop like this one and make your own patterns with them. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to leave those there, but I'm going to right click, insert MIDI track. And on this MIDI track, we want to load a drum rack. So I'm going to come to drums and load up a drum rack. Now a drum rack is basically a holder for samplers. And you can see the MIDI notes that would trigger these samples or samplers once we've loaded them in. So to get the audio in there, I'm going to use this loop. Let's say I want to use the hi-hats and the claps from this loop to build up my own patterns. What I'm going to do is click on the drum rack track so that I can see the drum rack. And all I need to do is click and drag this loop into one of these cells. I'm going to go for C1. You don't need to worry about copying. Ableton leaves it there. It knows if you drag it into a drum rack that it wants you to just copy it. So what we've got here, if I press this play button, it's going to play the whole loop through for us. Now that isn't particularly what we want, but we do want it to be in one-shot mode, and it's detected that for us, which is good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the end and start marker to isolate some of these individual hits. So let's go for this one. Now, in order to zoom in to get this a bit more accurate, you can see we've got a magnifying glass. You just need to click and drag up and down on the place that you want to zoom in or out from. And you can also click and drag left and right. So let's get these nice and accurate. Now, when I press play on here, we've just got that individual clap. So let's rename that. Clap. Whoops. Awesome. Now what I want to do, I'm going to zoom out a touch, and I'm going to hold down Option or Alt on my keyboard and click and drag this into the next cell on the drum rack. And then I'm going to go in and pick out a different hit. So let's go for this one. Again, zoom in to get this a bit more accurate. Otherwise there's a delay and it'll make things sound a little bit out of time. There we go. We've got a hi-hat there, but you can hear I'm just getting the end, like a little click of that last shaker, which I don't want. So I'm going to take that off. And this is jumping around. That marker there is jumping around because we've got snap on, and it sort of automatically tries to find the best place, which isn't going to make a clicking sound for you. But that sounds okay. Rename this one. Hi-hat. And there's a reason that we're renaming these. We're not just being pedantic. Then we could do another one. Hold down Alt or Option and drag this again. Go in and find, I think this was like a little kind of hit at the end. Let's see what this is. See what this is about. Cool. So we'll call that snare. Awesome. Now what we've got here is some of the individual elements that made up that drum loop. You could even go in and grab one of these little shakers just here. I'm not going to do that today, but you could go in and do as many of these as you wanted to. What we can then do on this drum rack track that we've just made, we can make a MIDI clip by highlighting some space, right-clicking and doing Insert MIDI clip. And this is the reason that we renamed them. Otherwise, it would have just been RH2125, sort of named whatever this loop is, and we wouldn't really know what's on each of these. But now we do, because we took the time to name it. So you can then use these individual sounds to make patterns. And then you can go in and add whatever else you want into here. You could even come back into the drum rack by double-clicking on the track header. Go into your samples and add some more stuff in here. You could add in some kick drums, just make up a complete package of drums that you want to use. Right click, rename, kick, put whatever you want into here, and then hit this save button. And we want to save this as new house kit, for example, or whatever you want. And new house kit is then saved into there. So anytime that you want to come and get these samples again, if you're working in a different project, you can come to user library, presets, instruments, and drum rack, because a drum rack is an instrument. And you can drag this new house kit wherever you're working. You can drag this into some empty space, and it's going to create that on a new MIDI track for you, load up all the samples, and you're ready to use those straight away. There we go. I really hope that's been helpful for you. If you do have any questions, then I have a Music Production Explained Facebook group where I'm in there every day answering people's questions, because comments are a little bit difficult to keep up with. But in this Facebook group, I make sure I'm there every day to answer questions that people have. And there's a link for that in the description below this video. Also, please do hit the like button if you have enjoyed and watched till this point. I would really appreciate that. And hit the subscribe button and the bell notification if you want more Ableton tutorials like this, which I'm releasing every week. I hope to see you in another tutorial soon. Take care.